and coffee.
Well, if no one's gonna drink this, maybe I'll just... Ugh, that's terrible. That's...
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Brian on Pop Culture Minefield. I hope you're all having a spectacular morning. As I've been hearing from people living in upstate New York and other areas, it's like living on the moon, Mars right now. So I hope if you're in those areas that you're doing okay. I sympathize because I know exactly what you're going through from years of living in that kind of thing. So hopefully the wind will blow and that will be resolved soon. But anyway, good morning to you all. I can already see the great D. Bud Martin is here. Six is here. Nice to see you, Six. Anima Confusa, how are you, lass? And FKHC 2005. Good morning to you all. Thank you for being here, and we will be continuing to chat to you guys throughout the show. Also, good morning to you, John. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Great. Show us your new sign in the background. Oh, I like it. I like it. Thing is the KC, is the Kansas City thing directly pointing at it? Is that a reference or is it just coincidence?
It's just coincidence. I need to get another sign for that blank spot, and then I'll be good. I'll have visual stuff on the whole wall there.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I'm still working on mine. There's some gaps to fill, but I'm working on it.
Oh, what you need, John, is the Gandalf sign of "You shall not pass."
Absolutely, that would be good. And Martin, sir, how are you this morning? I know you're a little bit down.
Oh, yeah, I'm a little under the weather, but here we are.
Well, I'm very glad,
and that is what is important.
I'm very glad that you're here, my friend, and you too, John. Thank you both once again for being here to support my fumbling efforts. But yes, good morning to you all out there on YouTube, Rumble, KGRA Digital Broadcasting, and whatever other service we appear to be on. There are dozens of them. Twitter, Facebook. We're everywhere and nowhere, baby, as the song goes. So hello to you all. And a big thank you, as usual, to our sponsors, Fuel Up, or Work, Rest and Play, Fuel Up Hydration. There are details and links in the show description for Fuel Up, and there are deals for using codes that we have. And during the top of the hour break, we will, as usual, play you the Fuel Up information so you can learn more about our sponsors. So thank you to them for continuing to sponsor Pop Culture Minefield and these shows. We appreciate it very much. So today we have a fascinating show. I hope it's a fascinating show, which is going to be about the 2017 Korean epic World War II movie, and it is a World War II movie set called The Battleship Island. So this film showcases the struggles, bravery, and resilience in the face of harsh conditions and oppression of a group of Koreans forced to work on a Japanese island in the coal mining industry. And we're going to then talk about the history of that island, which is Hashima Island or Hashimi Island, also known as the Battleship Island, which we'll talk about a little later in the history part of the show. I know that, John, you've certainly, or Martin, you've seen this movie. I think you've seen it too, John. Am I right in saying?
No, I haven't seen the movie. I know more about the history of the island than I do.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't had a chance to watch it, so.
He will be the one that will be stopping us every 5 minutes. That wasn't true.
That's
that
right,
was correct. Yeah, we have to remember this semi-fictionalized version of the events. The third act of the movie didn't take place.
The third act of the movie is completely imaginary. Yes, so many of the details earlier in the movie are accurate, but the third act of the movie is a complete wish fulfillment fantasy and fabrication. Nonetheless, very thrilling.
Yes, very well done and very inspiring.
As a movie, it's phenomenal. It's one of my favorites of the last few years, because everyone loves a liberation struggle movie. And it's set during World War II, and it does depict the story of these Korean forced laborers. And there were Chinese prisoners of war and others forced to work on there, alongside Japanese workers who lived and worked there anyway on this island, because it had been occupied since something like 1890. During the war, several hundred Koreans were taken there forcibly to work. So we'll dive into that in the second part of the show. And I certainly I want to lay out my stall here. I mean, I'm a big admirer of Japanese history and culture, and this isn't intended to be an attack on Japan, but really horrible things happened in the period between 1910 and 1945, 1946. And a lot of them happened to Korea and Koreans. So it's not to be ignored or downplayed, despite my love of current day Japan. So, there was other POWs there too. I think principally on Hashimi, it was principally Koreans and Chinese prisoners of war. Not sure how many Allied, if any, Allied prisoners of war were there. They were certainly treated badly elsewhere, but I don't intend today's show to be about that specifically. It's more about this movie and this island. So I think I'll start off with actually playing one of the trailers, which I've tested a few times and didn't get any copyright checks. So I'd like to play a trailer for the movie, if I may.
선생님, 조선분이시죠? 난 저하고 같이 온 딸내미가 이소희라고 한참 아직 어린 년이라. 핏덩이를 데리고 뭐 하는 거야? 지금부터 내가 조선으로 와야 보여.
돈 벌러 가는 거라고 도라구에 태워져서 갔더니 일본군 부대더라고.
하시마란 탄광섬에 역류되어 있다는 첩보가 있어. 자네가 윤 선생 모셔와.
ここの出来事を記憶する朝鮮人たちを一人たりと残してはいけないということです。証人なる朝鮮人たちを殺さないといけないことは。
부탁이요. 내 딸 소희만이라도 여기서 나가게 해줍시다.
나갈 거야. 여기 있는 조선 사람들 다 같이.
집에 다시 가요?
그럼 가야지.
조선 사람들 전부 배 탈 동안 우리가 뒤를 봐준다.
한 사람이라도 살면 우리가 이기는 거예요.
우리까라 우리 다 좋아. 얘니까요.
Yeah, so like many Korean movies, particularly at the higher end of the budget scale, is brilliantly filmed. As you can see, the sets and the cinemas, obviously not filmed on the island, that's an impossibility, but the sets they've created are fantastic. Great action at the end, as I say, completely fabricated the escape attempt, but we'll see some of that, the quality of in the movie as we go through. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the cast that are in this, because it's an absolutely fantastic cast. As you get in many Korean movies, there's some really great actors. The one that I guess the lead in the movie is Hwang Yong-min, who is certainly one of my favorite actors and is prolific Korean actor in all sorts of great movies. The last thing I saw him in was this Netflix Kill Bok-soon. He's in the first 5 minutes of the movie, so even if you didn't watch the rest of the movie on Netflix, the 5 minutes he's in, a bit of a spoiler alert, he just absolutely dominates the screen. He's not a big guy, he's a little guy, but my God, he's wiry and tough, and is just such a great personality. He brings something extra to every movie he's in. Definitely one of my favorites. And he plays in this film a character called Lee Kang-ok, who's a musician in 1940s Korea. Japan occupied Korea. And he's a leader of a popular jazz band. He's a little bit of a chancer and a hustler. And he's the protagonist of the movie and one of the leaders of the escape plan from the island. And he's there with his daughter and is doing, basically, he changes throughout the movie as a chancer, the guy who's desperately trying to protect his daughter. He's just captivating. He's a captivating actor. I absolutely adore him. This is one of my favorite stills from the movie where he's playing for the Japanese, so he's got to try and, I think we lost John. He's trying to impress them with his, recently he's been in a movie, just to point out a few of my favorites that he's been in, not to belabor the point, but this year he released a movie with Hyun Bin, who's on the right in this picture, for some unaccountable reason, one of my wife's favorite actors. I've no idea what she sees in Hyun Bin. Personally, I think he looks very unattractive. And it's The Point Men, which is a Afghanistan set drama based on a real story. So check that one out if you get the chance. Really great drama.
In that movie appears the Fahim Fasli, a very dear friend of this channel and personal friend of Gary's.
Yes.
First Afghan American actor in history.
That's right. Yeah. So he's getting quite a lot of work recently, and as you say, a great friend of this channel. So check out The Point Men. Brilliant movie. I know Gary wants to do a stream on it as well, and I'd like to be a part of that. I'd hope to be a part of that. Great movie, and an interesting tale of something that actually happened about Korean hostages in Afghanistan. Not a lot of people even knew the Koreans were there, but he's also in some other great movies like Fists of Legend, not to be confused with Fist of Legend, which is a different movie about a televised MMA fight show. Really great movie. For a little guy, he plays a fighter really well, if you want to put it that way. The Spy Gone North. Thoroughly recommend this. Again, based on a real historical story of a South Korean spy who infiltrated the North and actually got meetings with Kim Jong-il. Brilliant. He's just so good in this. It's unbelievable. Deliver Us from Evil, where he which is a great action revenge thriller, where the antagonist, and I can never remember the poor chap's name without mangling it. Lee Young-ye is the antagonist that he's standing beside here, who's the lead in Squid Game, amongst many other great shows. This movie is just phenomenal for action and thrills. And then there's a movie called Hostage, Missing Celebrity, where he plays himself being kidnapped by a group of vicious thugs who want to get the ransom for him. It's a really neat twist because he's playing himself.
Something like JCVD.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's very like that, except I would say there's a damn sight more action in it. And then he was the lead in Narco Saints on Netflix, which is the tale of the little known tale of the drug trade in South America. Mostly focuses on Colombia. This one's in Suriname, where there's a Korean presence, and he plays a sort of pastor who's really a drug king. And there's also a great supporting cast in this, but he's brilliant as this preacher, criminal preacher. Again,
Hello, Courtney.
Hi,
Hello,
Courtney. Cam's here too. Good to see you, Christian. Good to see you, Christian Delorme. So on to the Battleship Island. Also starring in this is a guy called Sung Yong Ki as Park Moo Young. Park Moo Young is a Korean independence activist. You see him at the beginning of the movie in Manchuria with the Korean independence fighters. And he infiltrates the island to rescue the others, or at least rescue one guy.
Don't forget, he was trained by the OSS.
That's right, trained by the OSS.
So
Yeah,
he was a James or regular James Bond.
Yeah, he's got special skills. He's got a set of unique skills, and he is there to rescue one guy in particular, but then that changes. He's brilliant, and this actor is also quite a pretty well known guy in Korea, mainly for television. He was in a show called Descendants of the Sun, which Martin and I were talking about, these K-dramas. This one follows that formula very well. Mixture of action, romance, goofiness, and plain insensibility.
And we have a super chat from Christian Delorme. Double thanks, my friend. Double thanks.
So hang on here. That means I get a Christian. Thank you. Great friend of my channel and this channel. Just because I love to hear Martin. Well, don't we all? We all love to hear him.
Well,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your $5 donation, and I have to play you something special then.
You have our gratitude.
So thank you, sir.
It's sort of gonna have to watch that movie.
That's right. You must watch Kentucky Fried Movie. He's also in the lead in a show called Vincenzo, which again is a K-drama where he's a Korean mobster who grew up in Italy and then went back to Korea. Typical Korean drama premise. So they can have lots of mob-related stuff, even though he's a Korean. And it has goofy comedy and whatever. It swings between violence and comedy quite successfully, and romance. But yeah, very effective actor. And he's fantastic in the Battleship Island as the man with the skills.
Okay, I just had word from Das Wolf, and his internet died. So
right. Okay, well, I hope he comes back because he's great with the history of Hashima. So hopefully he's back by the end of the show. Yes, so FKCH 2005, now off to Detroit. Well, we do have that one too. Somewhere. Oh, yeah.
Take him to Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that! No!
it should be edited and taken to San Francisco.
San Francisco, yeah. Take him to San Francisco. Take him to Chicago now. Well, Detroit's still pretty bad. It's just they ruined that one years ago. So.
And if you want to go the extra mile, you can say take him to Venezuela.
Yeah, you could. Well, Venezuela's coming to us, so we don't need to take anybody there. That's a sidetrack. So, also starring in the movie is So Yi-sob. And I pronounce all these wrong because when I watch Korean movies and they mention the names, they never sound like they're written in English. So my apologies to all the Koreans out there. He plays Chwa Chil-sung, who's a Korean criminal who's brought to the island as a prisoner because they used prisoners and independence fighters and others. They took them to this island.
They're not prisoners. They are conscripted laborers. That was the thing of the movie.
Yeah, but he's an actual prisoner because he's a criminal in Korea. So for whatever reason, he's encouraged with his gang.
Yes.
to go to the island rather than face jail in
What
Korea.
one of the best characters in the movie.
Oh, he's
was his-
great. And
That's-
it's a personal journey for him throughout this movie, from, hard man Korean mobster to independence fighter and romantic involvement with one of the other prisoners, one of the women that's there. It's a personal journey for him, and he's really good in it. He's very selfish at the start, but by the end, he's an absolutely heroic figure. Helps that he's tough, and he's been in various movies like A Company Man, which is a good movie, and more recently Alienoid, which is just a batshit crazy time travel Joseon period, whatever. It's one of these crazy Korean things. Not a bad movie though, especially as it's made by the director who made The Thieves, and Assassination, which is another brilliant Korean independence movie from the Japanese occupation era. Brilliant movie. So yeah, he quickly realizes on the island that he's got to step up, and it's funny. We'll see some stills from the movie soon, but the relationship with Lee Young-hyun here, who's plays a young Korean woman who's forced to work as a comfort woman on Battleship Island, but she's absolutely hard as nails and determined to escape. And this pair start off fighting and then end up in a romantic relationship. Also,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead,
I'm
mate.
sorry. No, the thing about the romantic relationship, you can see it from their first interaction that they're going to go there.
Yeah,
But
the fighting
you-
is just a preamble.
But it never happens. They feel for each other. They never say it.
Yeah, but they certainly show it right in the end, in the action sequences at the end. The depth of this.
They're always there for each other.
Yeah, brilliantly acted by the two of them. I mean, physically, it must have been a fairly grueling production
Oh.
because of the sets that they're on, and the everything about it looks grueling. Not as grueling as the real experience, of course, but also brilliant in this movie. Normally, child actors are irritating to me, but Kim Soo-an
That
plays
kid was
Lee.
adorable.
Yeah, plays Lee So-hee, who is Wang Yun's daughter in the movie, and she sings and she performs with his band. And there's he's estranged from his wife, and he has custody of his daughter, and she's a bit of a hustler too. And her and her father have this antagonistic relationship, but they're both very similar in effect. She's a brilliant actress, and she was also in Train to Busan. She's the kid in Train to Busan, so brilliantly. I don't know. She has been in a few things recently, but obviously school and so on has rightly, made her career restricted. But these two movies alone, she has proved her worth. She's fantastic,
Hey, Lord Thoth.
Lord Thoth, good to see you. So, let me just remove that. So that's the principal cast. There's some other great Korean character actors in it, and what we're going to do now is just throw up some of the stills from the movie and just walk through it. So let me just find that file that we're going to use. You see the fantastic production levels on this show. It takes me like 2 minutes to find a. Here we go. Movie stills. So let's walk through the movie and see some.
Oh, Battleship Islandception.
So the movie begins at the beginning of the movie. It begins with the mining aspect of this island because it is a coal mine. That's the reason the island existed in the first place, and we'll certainly talk more about that at the start of the history part, where we go into the island itself, and it shows the conditions. I mean, I've been down a coal mine before, but never one like this. This mine in reality ended up being like 20 minutes down in a lift that it's several hundred meters below sea level, and it's hot, it's dangerous. There wasn't too much of a focus on safety. They're using dynamite, There's gas. So they've attempted to capture the conditions for the miners down there. Now, obviously, in the past, before the Koreans and the Chinese prisoners of war were used, now this guy, they were Japanese miners too. That's why the island existed. So whether the conditions were different for the two sets of workers, I don't know in terms of the.
Oh yes, you can see it. If the Japanese workers have uniforms, the women are.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the-
down in the mines though, like if you're down there
Oh,
in the
oh,
mine,
most probably on the equipment. The Japanese workers should have
Yeah.
the better equipment.
Probably, yeah. So but I mean, at the same time, it's still down there and dirty and hot and dangerous. This character here he is seen as the leader of the Koreans on the island, and he was a Korean senior figure. He's a senior figure in the Korean independence movement, or he was until he's placed on this island. So all the other Korean prisoners look to him for leadership. That's all I would say right now. And there's going to be spoilers. I need to say this. This will be a lot of spoilers in this discussion. So what we see is him seeing off a bunch of escape attempts. 3 guys, young guys that are trying to escape from the island. It's 9 kilometers off the shores of the Nagasaki Peninsula. So not only have they got to get out of the island, they've got to swim 9 kilometers to get to, and through rough seas to get to the coast. And you start to see a little glimpse of what the island. Now, this is a set, but very much based on much of the look of the island, and you see the difficulties. But they do manage to. 2 of them manage to get away. Or is it 3 of them? But for some reason, a Japanese ship hones right in on them and captures them. Well, captures them, basically just catches them in a net and they get drowned.
And they specifically say that they don't need to capture them. They don't need to kill them.
No,
They just need to say that we found them drowned.
They just need
That's
a
it.
body. Yeah. Because they're trying to keep a little bit up of the pretense that they're not committing atrocities on this island. So, they tried to escape and they drowned. So now it flips back to Korea. Now, Korea at the time, you can see, was heavily, the Japanese had occupied it, but they were basically trying to turn Korea into not a colony, just a province of Japan. So eradicating Korean language, everything was based around Japanese allegiance. So Japanese flags, Japanese music. Funnily enough, this is where we're introduced to Lee Kang-ok and his band, and you can see him and his daughter are great performance, but they actually play a little bit of jazz, which is banned. Western jazz is banned by the Japanese, but everyone says, come on, let's play some jazz, And this guy here is a friend. Well, Lee Kwang-ok thinks he's a friend of his. He's a local, not
Police.
sheriff, but whatever the equivalent is.
It's a policeman.
Yeah, he's a policeman, and he certainly appears to be the friend of Lee Kang-ok, but he suggests to Lee Kang-ok that he can get him over to the Japanese mainland to perform, where he can make a lot of money. Him and his daughter performing. Now, whether he's deliberately does it or just doesn't know, and I believe he doesn't know, he gives the guy this letter that says, hey, if you go over we can get you passage to Japan and you can go play there, and here's a guy you need to talk to when you get there. Lee Kwang-ok, of course, eats this up because he's hustler. He wants to make money. He wants to get over to the mainland of Japan and play for big crowds and make money. Possibly shouldn't have trusted this guy.
Well, I don't think the police guy he's aware of what is happening,
I
because
don't think so. Yeah.
he wouldn't need to go to those lengths. He just could say you're going to the island, and that's it.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right, because he does appear to be a genuine friend, but he gives him a letter of introduction to a guy on the mainland and everything. He says, yeah, this is going to be a gold mine. First sign they have that things are not perhaps as they appear is when they get on the boat to go to Japan. And they find themselves in this hold full of a variety of people. Some of them, like our mob boss, Choi Chul Sung, Some are women who have been forcibly put on the boat. There's all sorts of people in here, and they're crammed into this horrible boat in the hold.
Here's where they clash for the
Yeah,
first
this
time.
is where our male and female romantic protagonists first clash in a fight. But even at that point, I think they realize this is somebody that they're an equal. There's an equal here. They're
Yes.
equals of each other, and that immediately goes, oh, okay. Even though they're fighting.
Yeah, after that interaction, everybody will say that, oh, look, she humiliates him. No,
No.
she gained his respect instantly.
Oh yeah, he's like intrigued.
Respect and admiration. You can see in his face like, so you're tough, okay?
Yeah,
I like you.
he is completely intrigued. Like he's okay, and he's now always looking out, watching to see where she is throughout the movie. But of course, this is now we're getting introduced to the leads. So here's there are two of the main leads of the upcoming escape. We've got Hwang Young Min's character and his daughter. They're all making connections on this boat.
Yeah.
They get to Japan. These are great scenes, by the way. I mean, I love the way Koreans do the historical dramas. They always seem to be so accurate with the costumes and the settings. He's, hey, here we are, goes up to one of the cops or guards or whatever you would call them and says, hey, I got to go and meet this guy. And gets the brutal reality that the guy doesn't give a shit. He says, I'm here to meet this guy. And he goes, well, there's lots of guys called that.
Oh, that scene. It skipped the part in which the floor is covered in recommendation letters.
Yeah,
that
all the letters
he
on
has
the floor.
that face. Oh my god!
Yeah, so everyone on that boat, doesn't matter where they think they're going, they're all herded onto that train, which is a pretty symbolic scene. And then they're put on this ferry, and they have no idea where they're going at this point. No idea. All they know is that everything is not as it seemed. They're not going to get to where they thought they were getting. Yeah, well, FKC, indeed. At this point, they probably should have had clues that things were not. But then again, they're under armed guard now. So I like this scene because you do see several of the major players in one scene, and they're, where the hell are we going? What are we looking at? You know, it's like puking up over the side and everything. And this is where you get your first sight of the island. Now, I'm assuming this was a recreation digitally or with effects rather than the actual island, because obviously the island's abandoned now and there's no smoke or whatever. So these are all recreations, but it's so impressively done. So imagine the feelings they're having. Like, what the frack are we doing here? And then they get herded off, and this is where the real shit starts to happen. Very, very. I wouldn't say impressive, wherever the word for impressive is, but not good.
Shocking.
The girl is in absolute turmoil.
And it's an appetizer from the things to come.
Yeah, they still don't know, I expect at this point, where the hell they are, what they're doing. All they know is that they're prisoners of the Japanese, regardless of how they came there or how they wanted to become there. And they're herded into this area where, like you've seen in other movies set in the Second World War, they're beaten, all their possessions are taken, they're in effect processed to live and work in this mining facility. And there are Korean guards working with the Japanese because it gives them a little bit of extra status in this place. You can see some of them beating so there is a group of Koreans on here that are working with the Japanese, albeit not equal to them. And there's no reasoning with him. He's trying to reason his way out of this, trying to tell them what they're a band, we're here to play, this isn't meant to be happening to us. This guy here, he's in a lot of Korean movies, this guy. I can't remember his name, but sorry, go ahead, Marty.
The fact that they were a band, that helped them. Because
it did.
It didn't spare them for of working in the mine, but they were treated a little bit better.
Yeah. So, yeah, as you say, he gets the band. He goes, "Look, we're musicians. We're musicians," and they get their instruments out and they play a Japanese tune or a tune the Japanese like. And of course, everybody loves music, even brutal Japanese jailers. And they go, "Oh, okay, right. We'll let you keep your instruments," which is lucky because they've stashed all their cash in one of the cases. So they get to keep their instruments, and as the things develop, it gives them a little bit of a break from they have to work in the mines, but they get little extras by being out
Yeah,
there playing.
and they have the opportunity to steal some breadcrumbs from now
Yeah.
and then.
And at least get some connection with other people that allows them to smuggle bits and pieces of stuff. Now we're seeing the comfort room. The girls, including the little girl, are stripped off from the men and are taken to a different area where they are basically being prepped to be comfort women, as they call them, which is still a huge thorn between the Koreans and the Japanese in real life now about what happened. Now, at this time on the island, there are Japanese living and working there in a different area, and there are Koreans. So there's a multitude of people, all in different conditions, though, of course. So anyway, they go through their processing, and are taken to basically where they're going to live, which is in this incredibly cramped, horrible area. I mean, everyone lived in cramped conditions there, including the Japanese, but at least they had their own place and comforts, modern comforts. These guys were just thrown into what were basically
Cells.
bare cells, yeah. But the playing in the band does get them some relief from
A little less beatings.
Yeah, now this is the commandant, I guess, or whatever you would call it, the guy that runs the island.
The manager, they call him.
Yeah, the manager, and he's
Because it's a company. It's not state owned. It's a private company.
Mitsubishi,
Oh,
owned by Mitsubishi, who bought the island in 1890s and operated it till it closed in the 70s. And they can see the women now where they're kept. And this is where all the Koreans live, like 8 of them to a cell or whatever.
no, they are going through the Japanese quarters because
All right.
that's why those Japanese quarters have a little
Right.
resemblance of a living place.
And we'll see some of the real buildings later in the show. Now they're getting to this is where they gotta live. So brutal reality has hit them. These guys a day ago didn't know what they were facing, and now they know they're on this hellish place, which they probably hadn't even heard of.
Oh, please pause it.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
So it's to show in the bowl. There's a particular
Hang on, we'll get there.
brown smudge in the brown bottle.
It's certainly going to
thing
cause
there.
brown, that's for sure.
Yeah.
you
Okay,
go.
there. Can you see in our audience?
This?
Can you see the chopsticks? Up and left of the chopsticks, there's a brown thing. That's a living cockroach.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, this is the. I mean, God knows, is that meant to be barley or rice? It's barley, I think. It's not
I
rice,
don't
because
have any.
rice was prized because it wasn't given to prisoners. So
Yeah.
this, they're now brutally aware of.
Oh,
conditions
and
are-
we forgot to tell about they were paid, but everything was deduced.
Yeah, so as they're
The-
being processed, the guy's reading out to them, here are your work cards and your papers. You'll be paid so much per day, so they could claim that they were laborers, not prisoners.
Yeah.
But everything, your accommodation, your food, your medical treatment will be deducted. We will be deducting money for your pensions. Blah, blah, blah.
the boat ticket, the train journey, the other boat ticket, everything,
Yeah.
and they have. And if you can cover off your monthly quota of your debt, that will be added to the next
Added to
month.
the debt, which is typical feudal stuff, of course. That happened in feudal ages. But so now they're in the this is their bathing area for after the mining, and it's just like dirty water pools. They're all in loincloths, and you first see there's a great fight here between the Korean leader of the Korean guards. Obviously they've only got clubs, not guns, and our star Choi Chul Sung, who fight for he's a gangster. He's not going to take shit. So he basically fights this guy for supremacy.
Yeah.
Just to like the guy's trying to impose his will. This Korean guy's trying to impose his will, and then he says "F you," and he takes him on because he's not going to be bossed around by some.
He makes a deal with the Japanese. He said, "If I can beat him, I will
take over.
I'll take his
Yeah.
charge."
and he wins, of course. Because
That's a brutal fight.
It's a brutal fight, and they're in loincloths and they're dirty and wet, and but yeah, he's not going to put up with getting kicked around by some Korean guy. He can't do anything about the Japanese yet, but he can at least do that.
Oh no, my friend! It didn't came out to nothing. It amounted to even more debt.
Oh,
it was designed so they always been accumulating debt.
Yeah, and this allowed the Japanese to say though that they were there to work for money, not forced. But yeah, so this fight was incredible. If you see the movie, it's brutal and visceral.
Yes.
By contrast, the ladies, the women, and the little girl are taken to a dinner with leading Japanese military and officials of the company.
We have a super sticker from Darius Munchausen. Thank you, Darius.
Darius, thank you, sir. I'm assuming the super sticker is a box of popcorn. Am I right?
Oh no, it's the big pear and coffee.
Oh, big pear. We all like a big pear. Do we not? Thanks, Darius, brother. What can we play? I'm not going to play You Take Him to Detroit. We've already played that. So let's have this one.
Let's rock! Let's rock!
Let's rock.
Let's rock, Duffy.
Let's rock and roll.
Let's rock!
So thank you, Darius. So yeah, the girls are, the poor little girl's scared out of her wits, and who can blame her? And I think the little girls all realize what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but they put this record on in the Japanese, and the girl goes, "That's me singing." Her and her father had made records, and that's one of their records. And she gets up on stage and sings along with it. She says, "This is me." So at that point, she in effect gets a break from what's going to happen to the others, I believe. Like she's, "Oh, okay, great. Well, we need you to do more performing. Get the band." And they know that these guys are a band now and that she's singing with them. So they start to get this, "Oh, well, we want you guys to play. We're not going to treat you any better, hardly, but but at least it saves her." And she gets reunited with her father as a result, which is great. She's no idea what's happened to her and vice versa. So that's a great sequence. I mean, it's a very compelling movie
And this is the encampment of the Korean Liberation Force.
So we move to Manchuria now briefly. And this is where, as you say, Martin, the Korean independence.
But this is a flashback. That's the thing. You have to.
Well, it does say 1945 though, so it's not that far back. But yeah, it's a bit of a flashback. But it's all set in 1945, by the way. We should have said that.
It's either a flashback or after this scene and the next one, there's a time lapse. Then it doesn't get mentioned. That's the other possibility.
Yeah, it rewinds a little bit because what we see here is the Park Moo Young who's the independence fighter that's going to infiltrate the island. We see him prepping for that, and we're introduced to him. So this, as you say, he was OSS trained. This is in Manchuria, where Korean independence fighters had gone from the 1890s onwards to escape the Japanese colonization and had built up a base. It's a very complicated thing because you've got Chinese nationalists, Chinese communists, Western forces are in Manchuria. They're fighting the Japanese there who had colonized it too, but they're also prepping for infiltration into other areas of the war. So it's a whole area of the war that I think a lot of us that grew up in Europe weren't aware of. We were aware of obviously the Pacific campaigns of America in Japan. This aspect of the war is fascinating to me. All these people there fighting. The Koreans were in World War II, fighting for their independence, in effect, allies of the West. And as a whole, they've got their whole story of their own about that. So, as you say, special set of skills, this guy. And we're seeing now the nuclear. Certain people are aware that the Americans are getting ready to do something big.
Yeah,
And
they're talking about.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, they're talking about the situation of the war, that the Russian are advanced, that the U.S. has taken. Now, how is it?
So there's,
where Mr. Miyagi comes from. Okinawa, that the U.S.
Okinawa,
supposed
yeah.
to have taken Okinawa, and there are rumors of the A bomb,
Yeah.
but they still don't believe it. They say, no, that's just rumor. That is
It's science fiction. That's an interesting point you made though about the timing of this. So the Koreans on this island are not aware of any of the war developments because the Japanese propaganda is strong. You know, they're winning. They're winning. The Japanese are beginning to realize, some of them on the island, that things are not necessarily going their way. And that plays into the things later in the movie, things that happen. The fact that the Japanese are losing and beginning to lose. Certainly in the last third of the movie, that they don't get the help from the Japanese mainland that they call on when the Koreans rebel. So.
Because at this point, yeah, the Japanese are the only thing that left of the Axis.
Yeah,
they're all alone.
So and one of the reasons that Park Moo-young that we saw there is to infiltrate the island, is to rescue or extract the Korean independence leader on the island, in the jail. Obviously, we know what happens with that later, but that's one of his reasons, right? Because they want this guy out because they want him to be a leader when the war's over in Korea. There's things about him they don't know, of course, but things we
No. I'm sorry. The Japanese didn't know. The OSS knew, and this Korean and the Liberation Army, they were trained by the OSS. They have OSS personnel in their camps.
Yeah, but the ostensible reason is to rescue this guy and get him out, but they know that something's wrong with him, and he's going to look for evidence of that in the camp, of the perfidy of the double dealing of the independence leader in the island. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different motivations for different groups about why they want to infiltrate and get this guy out. But I mean, I don't think Park Moo-young, the OSS trained guy, has any intention of rescuing anybody else.
No, he hadn't.
No, he's there for one reason: it's to get that guy, or whether it's to rescue him or to indict him. So yeah, these guys are getting a chance to dress up and play in the band for the Japanese. It allows them a little bit of access to food that they couldn't get otherwise, and he's obviously passing stuff to his daughter. Meanwhile, though, the mining goes on, and there are disasters that happen down there. So this whole sequence is incredibly filmed. There's a gas leak, I think. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the main problem here is that one of the coal carts get loose on
Oh,
a
yeah. Yeah. So they've got a coal cart, and it's a big downward slope, and it's supposed to be jammed onto
slope.
the rail, and it jumps the jamming wedge, careens down there, and just chaos ensues.
And as he's in on his way down, of course there is gas leaks, and as it goes hitting thing and ripping off electrical cables, there are sparks, and well, we can imagine what happened.
Yeah, it's incredibly well filmed. I mean, this is a beautifully filmed movie. With the scenes in the mine are exceptionally well filmed. I don't know how they did it, but they're incredible. It gives you that absolute feeling of heat, claustrophobia. I mean, they're about 400 or 500 meters underground at that point. More, maybe, I don't know.
No, 100, no, 1100 meters under
Oh, right, so way
the
deeper.
sea level.
Way deeper, yeah. So, I mean, I'm claustrophobic, so that would be murder for me. So by now, of course, this guy's infiltrated the island. That's what you meant by we don't see him getting onto the island.
Yeah, he just appears there.
He just appears, but he's clearly, I mean, I guess it's not that difficult to infiltrate it. You just have to roll up at the right port and get on the train, you know. But yeah, that's why there's the time lapse. I don't think it's a huge one though, because I think it's a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's now on there, and he's going to have to act. Obviously, he's part of he's going to have to do whatever they do in the mining, but he's got his own agenda too. And I noticed that down here, of course, they've got the Korean guards as well as the miners, and they're all. The thing about an accident like this down there is everyone's in the shit. This could be a guard if you like. You're still going to die. And there's various ways of they work to try and get out of this collapse or whatever you would call it. It's great stuff.
There's a group of them that are trapped in a pocket.
Yeah, and here's some of the great recreations in this.
Here's the best part. The guy that they want to break out, he is not just a leader of the resistance, but he's the leader of the Korean workforce there.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
The manager was just saying, well, just seal up the mine and let them die in there. And somebody said, oh, that guy is inside the mine. I said, oh, fuck. Yeah. I told you not to send him to the mine. Now we have to rescue them.
That's
just
right.
for that. Now we have to this is the guy.
Yeah, so we start to find out as the viewer that this guy, who, as you say, is seen as the leader of the Koreans on the island, they all look to him for leadership, seems to have privileges that perhaps he shouldn't have, and he seems to be somewhat favored by the Japanese. I think you at first you think it's because they want him to keep the others under control, but he's actually basically a turncoat. He's getting money and whatever from the Japanese, and he's basically got to keep the Koreans under control, but he's working with them, not grudgingly. He's doing it willingly with the Japanese. This guy suspects that, of course. This is a good actor as well. Again, he's been on a lot of stuff.
What they are discussing the extraction plan.
Yeah. And he very much does not trust this guy.
No, that guy doesn't trust his own shadow.
Yeah, he doesn't trust anybody. Now, the extraction plan that they're working on is they've got to do things like, and you'll see some of it later, there's a radio transmitter they need to get into.
This part is awesome because he spent time with her, so to make look that she's performing her work,
Yeah.
But what he's doing is saving her for performing her duties for a
Yeah.
couple of minutes a day.
Yeah. So this pair have struck up this from their initial fight on the boat. They've become very close, and he's there to keep, as you say, to keep her time,
Yeah,
save her
because
from.
not only is the nature of their work, but there are the clients are physically abusive. And they hit her,
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
and she's telling her backstory, telling him her backstory.
Yeah, she's had a pretty hellish life, but I mean, he's lived in the streets. He's a gangster, whatever. He's lived in that low life
Well,
world too.
we have like 2 minutes, maybe.
Yep, just
before
checking
break.
that. Yep. So,
Oh, here is they trade with new drawing.
yeah. Yeah, the trade.
That's-
So Huang here, Huang Yongmin's character has become he's a bit of a hustler. So he's got a trade thing going on with various people, trading food for
and the guards.
food for drawings of a certain kind. Whatever it is, he's hustling. But at the same time, he's doing his
Making
daughter, his
connection.
relationship with his daughter has become stronger because she kind of treated him with a bit of disdain when they were performers in Korea. You know, oh God, here's dad again. You know, their bond is growing, and he's going to do anything to protect her. It's something it grows in him, that strength.
Yeah, I think she sees in him for the first time real preoccupation for her well-being.
Yeah, and a strength that she didn't know he had to survive and to try and he's part of the plan to get out of this place. He becomes part of it.
Well, I'm gonna pause it.
There we go. I'll pause that
because we have to go. So, Bill, do your thing, man.
Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Did you know 75% of Americans
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh, wow. We survived. Welcome back to the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here chatting about the 2017 Korean World War II set movie, The Battleship Island. One of my favorite movies. And very lucky for me that Martin has seen it, knows it very well too.
I saw it last night.
All right, well, there you go. Well, you know it really well then, because I haven't seen it for about 4 weeks. I watched it again so I could get some stills from it. But thank you, everyone, for being here in the chat. Zombie Box Reviews, Bush McFadden, Dragon Ruse. It's good to see you all, everyone that we mentioned earlier as well. Thanks for coming. I hope you're enjoying this. I urge you to go watch this movie and check it out, because it's a gripping movie brilliantly filmed, brilliantly acted. I do like the Hwang Young-min there is one of the best actors in the world, in my opinion. Everything he does is brilliant. But yeah, his character here now is finding an inner strength that he didn't know he had himself, I think. Is becoming a part of that resistance movement on the island that's planning the escape along with some of the other main guys we've seen. There's a really neat scene here where you see his daughter on the roof and he goes up and joins her and they do a little song and dance routine from their act, just the two of them under the light. It's kind of the little bit of light relief from the heaviness that they've gone through. And for one moment, it's just the two of them on the roof. It's a very touching scene. And they've got a personal connection there. I know it's father and daughter, but they've grown as a father-daughter couple, So anyway, the escape plan, we're now starting to see some of the elements being done. They've got to make keys to get into certain rooms. They've got to get to the radio that's on the island, so that
the telegraph,
so that he can communicate with the independence movement outside. This is all extremely difficult to do, but they've got the ability to do it because they've got workshops where they're making stuff for the Japanese and they can just make keys. It's difficult, but they can do it. And other things are going on too, but here
at first he doesn't want to collaborate because they don't want to tell him why they need to get to the room. But and this has some too much with the previous scene because the Japanese, they tell the father that they want to send his daughter to one of the
it's like the governor on
Japan on the mainland.
It's a senior Japanese guy, and they want to send her as a whatever it is.
Yeah, they say that he lost his daughter, and they want to give him an adoptive daughter. But there are implications that's not the real.
Yeah, they're going to take his daughter. Now, interesting point here is, which they'll come to regret later, the Japanese, because they're shorter troops, because they're losing the war, they're actually allowing these guys to train to fight.
Yeah.
With, albeit, empty rifles. So they're actually training the Koreans on the island to how to fight, because they think they might send them off to the front lines to fight in the war. Might rebound on them later. And this is him hustling again, and his daughter's always looking at him because he's hustling with the ladies. He's like, God almighty, Dad.
But he's bribing the ladies to look after his daughter. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's right. She thinks he's chatting them up and chatting them up. And he's basically accepted that she's going to be taken to Japan, and possibly even he didn't want it, but at least she's out of this island. And of course, that's not going to happen.
And he strikes a deal with the OSS guy. I said, no, you don't need to pay me, but you have to take me and my daughter out of here.
Yeah, because the OSS guy wasn't interested in escaping with lots of other people. He just wanted that one thing. But he comes around to
the way they copy that key is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, so just let's talk about that. Yeah,
they use a powder in the lock, so when the guard uses the key gets marked. And he took the key, smoked it, and with the smoke that was collected on the key, they printed on a sheet of something. It's not paper.
It's maybe aluminum or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the guy that was so.
It's pretty
clever.
ingenious. Yeah, they're ingenious. Is this the room that the radio's in? That they're trying to get into. Yeah.
Here is putting the powder into the lock.
Yeah. It's actually, I mean, as you say, it's a telegraph, not a radio.
Yeah.
But it must be a radio transmitting telegraph though, because
no, because they communicate with Japan via telephone.
Because
So
how
they
does
don't.
he? How does he I was trying to figure out how does our resistance guy contact the people he wants to on a telegraph?
Yeah. Well,
How does he do that?
you know, it's a
Because a telegraph is a point-to-point thing.
yes. Yes.
So
It's, uh,
there has to be a
let's
radio
let's
element
just
to it.
roll with it.
Now he wants to get into these rooms for another reason. He doesn't just want the telegraph. He wants to check records in there too. He's looking for records of stuff. So he's not telling these guys that. He's got another mission. So they do all this work and they have to distract the Japanese. They have to, sneak out at night and do stuff, and they almost get caught trying to get into these rooms, or whatever. This is the sneaky part of the movie. Before it gets into full scale battle. But yeah, now he gets in, he's got to communicate the plan to get out of this place for the extraction.
They're telling him that they're going to use a boat. The boat that brings the food. The captain of the boat is a Korean agent, in fact.
Oh,
and
right. I forgot about that.
And
Yeah.
they're telling him that they have 48 hours. And in 48 hours at 5 a.m., that is the shipment. That is the ship that he must take.
Yeah, for him and whoever he's taking with him. So at this point in the history of the island, everything was by boat. There was no water mains. Later on in the 60s, they connected it with water. At this point, everything, including fresh water, has to be brought in boat. And there's a daily supply of stuff. Everything's brought by boat. This is where we see the real face of the Korean leader on the island. In actual fact, working closely with the company manager, selling out his own guys, whatever. It's for money, whether it's for money, status, whatever he does it for, he's selling them out. Which our Korean resistance guy knows or suspects, and he finds records that prove it. This is the dark part of the movie.
Yeah, I don't remember what is happening. Oh, here's when the whole thing is gonna get exposed to the public mainly.
Yeah, it's leading up to a showdown between Park Moo Young and the older Korean guy.
The father is looking for his daughter so they can get out. And here's the guy. Here's where
he's
the
looking
operative finds the files.
He's looking for the files that will prove that the older guy is a traitor. And there's a confrontation.
Good afternoon to you, Alex.
Hey, Alex. Good to see you. So it's out in the open now. I see it between these two guys. It's out in the open.
It's saying, I found the record. You are getting the money of everyone here, even
That's
the dead one. You're not reporting the dead.
Yeah.
So they can collect their checks, and half of the money goes to this guy, and the other half goes to the manager.
Yeah, they're basically running their own game for their own personal benefit between the two of them. It's not ideological or anything. They're just trying to make money, the two of them. Now I can't remember why the girl was there. Was it because they were there to escape at this point? They thought
they have to. The girl and the father.
Yeah.
They were looking for them because they are still believing that they are going with them.
Yeah.
But they don't know that the resistance told the guy, no, you cannot bring anybody else. Just the two of you.
Yeah, just the two. Now, was this? Yeah, this is where.
The bombing the island where
We missed the
got
shadow
bombed.
of the bomber coming over, but the Americans are bombing the island because they know it's a major part of the Japanese war effort, the coal. So they're basically just bombing the shit out of this island. They don't care about who's on it. They must have been aware there were Koreans or whatever on it, but that's affecting everybody now. But that allows this guy to escape his fate at this point, which was he was going to get a bullet in the head. And now everyone's scrambling to survive. Escape from the bombing, escape from the
and
fire.
he even kills the guy who saves him because the guy knows.
Yeah,
he discovered, and the guy even tells him, "I don't care. I'm loyal to you." And and the guy, okay, you're loyal, so you die anyway.
Yeah, a very strong loyalty to this traitor because he's been there with them all the time and he's been seen as their leader.
And a
then-
lot of there are people watching all the things that this guy is doing between in the rubble, and he's generating a lot of witnesses.
But this bombing is a sign to them that all is not going so well with the Japanese war effort. It's even a sign to the Japanese that something's not right. They've been told they're winning, and oh, wait a minute, that was easy. We got bombed, and Nagasaki's getting bombed, and the Japanese on the island, the manager and others, are looking for help from the mainland. It ain't coming. They're told you're on your own.
They are near the coast of Nagasaki.
Yeah, they're about 9 miles off Nagasaki, and they're told you ain't getting no help. Nothing's coming.
And that was the manager that was badly burned.
Yes. So I guess the manager's badly burned, but there's another Japanese military leader or whatever guard leader who's in charge, and he's a ruthless bastard. But we're now in basically a situation where everyone on this island is on their own one way. So there's no Japanese help coming from to the Japanese leaders on it from outside. The place has been bombed. There's a lot of hurt people. It's chaos. And I think that's when the mass escape idea, this is where the film deviates completely from reality, of course. The mass escape idea becomes a plan. Like, we've got to get everyone out of here.
Yes, because they discovered that the Japanese are planning to kill all the Koreans to hide because they got noticed that in Germany, who has fallen at this point, they are beginning trials for war crimes, and they say, "Oops, this is a war crime. We better erase everything."
Yeah, the Japanese are planning to kill everyone. That's right. So they find this out and they go, "Well, it's not just we've all got to get out of here now." And he forms a bond with the girl, the infiltrator. He forms a bond with a little girl. When they're in hiding from the events that are happening here, and he comes to realize that the only way out of here is to get everybody out, or at least to attempt to get everybody out. So he changes his plan from just him and this capturing this guy here to everyone's got to get out.
Well,
So
not everyone. All
Koreans,
people that he can.
Yeah, as many as he can.
That is the expression.
Because the original plan's blown the hell out of the water anyway.
And here's the gangster guy who got accused of raping and killing a Japanese woman that in fact was the Korean guard, the one
That's
who
right.
did it. And
the guy is torturing him. Yeah.
He accused the other one because he hates him. That's it.
Yeah, and so he gets his position back as the head of the Korean guards in a sense, and he tortures our gangster guy unsuccessfully because he's as hard as nails in a sense. So this is a key pivotal moment though for the entire Korean population of this island. They have a meeting. This guy's trying to subdue them, woo them like he's been doing for years. You know, everything's going to be okay. Just listen to me, do as I tell you. He brings them little bits of food. And
This is the best part. The mine is going to reopen, so we are going to have a big party inside the mine.
Yeah. He's trying to get them to go down the mine so they can all be killed. And he's trying to woo them. And of course, they trust him because they've trusted him for years. He was supposed to be a Korean independence fighter before he was on the island. So it's a brilliant scene because he's smooth talker, you know.
Yeah, and he's selling it.
He sells it hard, and he's trying to get them all to be killed, basically. Gives them all these little cakes that he got from whatever. However, spanner in the works comes our resistance infiltrator, who's got the records, he's got the receipts, and the two of them engage in a war of words in front of everybody.
And he has lost the file, so he cannot prove anything.
No, all he can do is use.
It's a battle of logic. What they are having there.
It made me wish I spoke Korean because obviously the translation in English you kind of lose a little bit of the. But it's a powerful war of words.
And here's the witness recounting. No, he did that shit. I saw him.
Yeah,
and everybody's
Eventually, people stand up and support the infiltrator, the OSS guy.
Oh, and the father, he got the files. He appears in a minute with it. I have the proof.
Yes. So
he's gone.
And he's gone. Yeah. So, so that's the end of the traitor. Now everyone is united behind this guy and whatever plan they're going to have to come out with to get everybody out. And they're saved from going down the mine, of course. Now,
there's a faction there's a little faction that is no, but we can talk with the Japanese.
No,
there's always people that think you can talk your way out with the guy who's beating you.
That's right. We could reason with them, with our jailers and captors and torturers. Yes. Yeah, it's like FKCH 2005 says, with a suit like that, you could sell a monorail. But it is it's a brilliant sequence of powerful drama before we get into the action that's coming up. It's very powerful drama. All fictional, of course. None of this ever happened. But you know, I could understand the Koreans make a lot of movies about this era, and I could understand their wanting to present the wish fulfillment fiction of escaping from a situation like this and getting, turning it around on their captors. And as somebody said earlier, it might have been FKHC, nobody actually was ever escaped from the island.
Oh, John, that's what
it was John, yeah. I've been in Vulcans several times when I was in the RAF. Great aircraft, the Avro Vulcan. Yeah, here's where they're trying to plan to get out. And the way to get out is they've got to get them all onto that boat.
Oh, Jibbles, we know that you can be reasoned with. You don't have to explain that.
Monkey Jeebus. Well, yes, that's right. Yeah, the Japanese were just misunderstood, that's all. But as it turned out, because as we were saying, this was a company island. Mitsubishi owned it. So it wasn't just about military and ideological stuff. The guy that was running it, the manager, was making cash personally out of screwing all these people, you know? So there was all sorts of motivations, none of them good. So here's where he's bamboozling the Japanese guards so that they can start to filter everybody up to get onto the boat. Look, a knife. Now we know in Korean television, if you're stabbed with a knife, it's just a scratch. That's Korean television. It's a trope of training TV. So this is where the action really kicks in. It starts, they're trying to get everyone out. Obviously, that that from a movie perspective, it's not going to go silently. It's not going to go well. They're going to get discovered, but as you see his daughter clinging to his back. I mean, he's become a real heroic figure at this point. He's determined to get her out and all these people out.
At this point, there are like three groups: the people that is going to go, the people that is going to stay because either they cannot go in the boat or they don't want to take the risk, and there's a group that there are the fighters.
Yeah, there's the fighters.
They know that most probably they're going to die, but they have a little hope that they can escape too.
Yeah, and the way they're
But
getting out here,
their main goal is to hold off the Japanese guard.
yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are going to fight to hold off the Japanese while the rest get on the boat. This is how they're escaping as they're going up the coal shaft, the coal chute, and then down the what do you call that thing? They're sliding down at the canvas. Where the coal goes down onto the boat.
Yeah.
They're climbing down
The coal
that.
shaft? I don't know.
Yeah, what would you call it? It's like a big sock that you go down.
I cannot help you, man.
I can't even think of the English word myself, A tube. Funnel. That's the word I was searching for. A big funnel. This is how the coal gets on the boat. They're all trying to get out that way. So far, they've not been discovered, but we know, at some point things, yeah. So meanwhile, shit's hitting the fan elsewhere. The Japanese eventually realize what's going on, and a full-scale pitched battle occurs, where we get to see our gangster guy and his girlfriend, who's his girlfriend, but their deep attraction and bond with each other. They basically
this is the
form
word.
heroics.
The shoot.
The shoot. That's
Thank
the
you.
word, shoot.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Christian. It's yeah. Thank you, Christian, a French Canadian, for telling me that, reminding me of an English word for something. I'm so stupid. Thank you, Christian. So the rest of the movie really turns into a desperate battle to hold off the Japanese long enough to get everybody off. This is where the training that they've got from the Japanese, some of it comes in, because they know how to shoot a rifle. They know how to form a, shield. They've got shields, and they know how to organize in a formation, so it's rudimentary, but it does give them some help. But unfortunately, the coal chute gets taken down, so they got to find another way to get on the boat. And this is where Lee Kang-ok really gets to shine, because he organizes everyone to get this part of the chute lifted up and put on the side of the walls, the sea walls, so they can climb up it, whilst they're under fire from the remaining Japanese. But our fighters are standing up on the wall, shooting down on the Japanese to try and help. It's a thrillingly filmed action sequence, battle sequence.
Here's what he tried to lift the part of the conveyor.
Yeah.
But everybody, one by one, joins him, and he starts to coordinate the effort.
Yeah, he rallies them to come do it. They've lit a fire to try and obscure with smoke and fire what they're doing, but they're all still getting shot. I mean, they're getting shot constantly. The fighters are doing their best to hold the Japanese off. They're better armed, and there's not necessarily more of them, but they've got more guns, more. They're in positions that they can shoot from easily, and the fighters are doing their best to shoot back.
Yeah, the Koreans got the high ground.
Yeah, they're up in the wall. Yeah, the seawall. Yeah. Yeah, Monkey Jeebus. I could shoot them all off the wall. I got 5 Fortnite ranked victories today. Yeah. And it's just there's just this will to survive now and get off this damn thing on this boat. And at least there's no help coming from the Japanese mainland for the Japanese in this island. There's nobody coming because they've got their own problems now, having had the ship bombed out, and they're about to get the ship bombed out of them even more in Nagasaki. And this is where he performs heroics himself to the gangster character. It's a glorious, emotional sequence with him and his girl. And unfortunately, though, Huang does get a bullet. Or Lee Kang-ok, as his character's called. He gets a bullet. The fighting's getting hand to hand now. She's doesn't realize she has to throw that Molotov cocktail, not hold it. What's this?
Why does the bottle doesn't kill him? I keep pointing the bottle at him.
Yeah.
But she eventually throws the bottle, and the guy shattered it with the strike that was destined to kill his father, and he got those on.
And you can see the
fuel and fire, and well,
yeah,
you
can
can
see the
imagine
toll
what
on.
happened.
Well, I know you can see the toll on the Koreans here, and I think the Japanese have surrendered now, haven't they? Or yeah, they are together. They're finally together. So they get on the boat. As many of them that are still alive, they get on the boat and they sail wherever. They just sail away from the island, and then the film takes a. Well, first of all, there's the emotional scene. As spoiler alert, Lee Kang-ok is dying, and his daughter is distraught, obviously. But you get a very touching scene between them, and he entrusts our independence activist Park Moo-young with his daughter's future. And he said, "Yeah, he'll do it because he's grown a boy. He's got a bond with the girl now too."
Yeah.
The young folk. Yeah, that's right. So, very emotional scene. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
No. I'm sorry. I continue laughing because of that joke.
We're talking about Werewolves of London. I know, Werewolves of London. Now, this is where the movie takes this is the ending. It takes a very different turn. The bombing of Nagasaki, the second nuclear bomb. And they're on the boat. And of course, they're only a few miles from Nagasaki. So they witness this explosion. I know, so they turn everything black and white except the explosion. So she's almost distracted from her father's death immediately by this. And somebody says on the boat, well, there's Koreans in Nagasaki too. And there was a lot of Koreans working in the Japanese mainland. Yeah, they're a bit close to be looking at that explosion. However, it's a movie. And that's how it ends with the explosion in Nagasaki. So spoilers. Spoiler alert, there's a nuclear weapon dropped on Nagasaki.
Jimmy doesn't like the ending.
He doesn't. I was ambivalent about the ending. I know they wanted to put it in a historical context. I think I would rather have seen them just sailing away. I mean, I'm fine with Huang's character dying. I think I'd rather have seen them just sailing away to Korea or trying to get back to Korea and that stuff happening off camera. It just added a little bit too much. It was a little bit too on the nose. I did like the line though that, my God, there's Koreans on that in the city too, you know. So then in effect the nuclear explosion doesn't discriminate who it kills. So hey, they wanted to put it in some historical context, I guess. But as we know, the last third of the movie is complete fantasy anyway. So what is, you know, may as well add. But still, leaving all that aside, it's a gripping movie. in my opinion, with fantastic action, brilliant actors, and the leads are all brilliant. I mean, Hwang Young Min is one of the greatest actors around, I think. Brilliantly done. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like watching Braveheart or something. You know some of it's bullshit, but you're cheering them on anyway, you know. So
Braveheart
did you
or Gladiator? That is was
or
all
Gladiator,
bullshit.
yeah. It's like that. You're cheering them on. The good guys you want the good guys to win. And it did feature earlier in the movie, a lot of aspects that were shown to be real later about the conditions on this island and the people that were forced to work there. Brilliant sets and cinematography. I mean, I'm so in love with the Korean filmmakers make these beautiful movies that look so good. Just a brilliant historical, one of the best. I mean, I call it a war movie because it's set during that period. It's one of the best war movies, I think, albeit fantasy. Did you enjoy it, Martin, when you watched it?
Well, oh yeah,
I did. I got a lot of enjoyment out of it.
it's
thrilling.
very engaging. It's very emotionally engaging.
Yeah, and you know, Hwang Young Min and his daughter, that is very powerful stuff at the end. Our gangster guy, Choi Chul Sung is his character, and his girl, all very powerful, emotional stuff. Brilliant filmmaking. Obviously, we know we're being manipulated emotionally, but that's why we watch movies. So the island itself, we've got about 30 minutes later. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I would urge you to go watch the movie. And it's got some historical veracity in bits of it, but it's just a thrilling action escape movie, if you want to boil it down to that. Brilliantly filmed and acted, yeah. So Hashima Island this is about a distance between it and Nagasaki of about 9 miles, I think. I might be right. So it's also, and the reason it's known as Battleship Island in Japanese, it's Gunkanyima, is because eventually the island itself was, some of the land around it was reclaimed, and the seawall in the shape it was built makes it look like a ship, a battleship from a distance.
Indeed, when they were in the boat approaching the island, the silhouette of the island, it looks like a battleship.
It does. It's incredible. The other place you might recall seeing it is in Skyfall, the Bond movie. You see the scene,
right.
Yeah. So the scenes that are filmed supposedly on Skyfall, on the island, are not. They're in Pinewood, but the view of it from the boat approaching it is real. In fact, I may have just a little tiny clip of that, if you indulge me. Yeah, so there's a tiny little clip.
We have another super chat from Christian.
Oh, hang on, I'll just get to that second. So this is the Skyfall scenes. So Silva's Island in the movie is meant to be Hashima. Now this is filmed on a set, but they've tried to recreate what it actually looks like today because it's abandoned, and it's just, so that's the Skyfall stuff that people might remember. So let me get back to that wonderful super chat. Hang on. Christian Delorme, our great buddy, $10 Canadian. Don't feel bad, Brian. Everybody knows that English is a second language to the French, Venezuelan, and especially the Scots. Yes, so English is my second, if not my third language. Who knows? So let me just play you something nice for that. I gotta have something pretty good here. Oh, this one will do.
Bye-bye.
No significance in that clip, just the fact I like it. The World of Susie Wong. So the problem with filming on the island now is it's been abandoned since 1974, and it's falling apart. It's a great example of what happens to human creations when nature is allowed to take over. You know, within a certain.
Didn't the UNESCO reclaim it?
Yeah, but it's not. The buildings themselves are falling apart. They're they're collapsing. Let me just get back to a decent view here so you're not. There you go. So this is what it looked like back in the day when they were still mining coal on it. It's very small. There's not many photographs of it from back in the day, but it was originally developed in the late 19th century, but for coal mining, when Japan was in the Meiji, I can never pronounce that right, the Meiji Restoration era, when it was trying to industrialize to compete with the Western powers, who had all too easily displayed to them that their military might and industrial might could crush them at any time when they opened up the Japanese ports by force. So coal was a huge part of their militarization. It's funny that actually it was a Scotsman helped them develop the coal mines there. It's our fault. What was the guy's name? I got his name here somewhere. Oh yeah, somebody called Thomas B. Glover was a Scottish engineer who brought coal mining equipment, because before then coal mining, a lot of it had been done, and certainly in Japan, by just open coal faces. He developed the shafts in the island for them. So basically the Scots shafted them. And over time, I mean, it was 160 meters by 480 meters, even with the reclamation of land around it. And it became the highest population density in the world because of that, the amount of people on it. And Mitsubishi Corporation bought and operated these undersea coal mines in 1887, and it operated it through the war right till 1974. So a lot of what we saw there wasn't so much Japanese military, it was Mitsubishi Corporation. And eventually they ended up building the first reinforced concrete apartment blocks in Asia, if not well ahead of most of Europe. They built all the coal mining facilities. There was a cinema, a school, a hospital, a Shinto shrine on the top of the mountain, on the peak on it. Schools, sports grounds. No greenery though. So I pronounced something quite well. Thank you, Peter. They crammed an awful lot of stuff on this little island. At its peak, I mean, it was about 6.5 hectares at its peak, and the housing density was like 4 or 5 times even what Tokyo is today in their sort of the bedroom communities or whatever. Just an incredible density. The equivalent to like 83,500 people per square kilometer, according to the stats. So, and yet those were Japanese people who voluntarily lived and worked there. And they built these incredible concrete buildings for them. They only had like 1 room per family, but you know, a square meter and a half per person. So probably something that the current leaders of the world would all love us to have again.
Good God. Meter and a half. Damn.
Yeah, they just crammed people on there. Dense high-rise buildings. And they had shops and everything on this island. But as I said, everything at that point in the early years had to be brought in by boat. They eventually, in I think the 60s, built water pipes to the island, but everything else was brought on. But yeah, the concrete, like all human creations, you let nature take over for even a short while, they will decay and disappear. So if we disappeared tomorrow, humans, 1,000 years from now, there'd be very little record we even existed. Our roads, buildings, whatever, would all be gone. So Hashima Island is an example of that. We'll see some pictures later. So this is the kind of density they lived in, you know. No greenery. Eventually they had some rooftop gardens. Just the most fascinating environment. So the coal fell out of fashion in 1974 and they abandoned the island, and now it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is a bone of contention between the Koreans and the Japanese today, because Japan still refuses to acknowledge or they talk around some of the things that went on there. They were supposed to put up a lot of displays about that, but they've not really done it. So
yeah, they haven't disclosed any document.
Yeah.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, but leaving aside the Korean portion of it, it's still a fascinating island because it's the industrial history of Japan, really. These were the stairs from hell. I mean, imagine living in that every day, you know, for like 10 years or something or whatever, with your raising your kids there. Just an incredible thing. Water, as they say, water would, if it was a tsunami, or not tsunami, a typhoon, the water would pour over the walls and the corridors and streets would become just rivers. Yeah, you can see the waves crashing over the buildings there. It must have been quite something. If the boats couldn't turn up, after a few days, they were in trouble because the water ran out of fresh water. This is an aerial view of it today. With all the decay. Now, because it's now a UNESCO site, there is some areas, I think particularly along here in the southern part, that you can walk along. You're not allowed, other than certain filmmakers are allowed to shoot scenes in the other buildings, but they're all empty now. The Koreans, when they were there, the Japanese had these buildings. They had like just one of these. They were crammed into some even tighter than the Japanese that were there. Very, very squalid conditions. Not that they had the Japanese had swimming pools and certain other things that were built, like gyms and so on. Not big, but they had them. The Koreans were just crammed into whatever, and the Chinese prisoners of war that were there. But it's a fascinating place. I mean, I'd love to visit it. I love abandoned buildings and abandoned sites. I've got a lot of books and watched a lot of videos of it. Those are fascinating. So this is what it looks like today on the right, and this is what it looked like back in the day on the left. And you can see nature has now reclaimed it, and the Alcatraz is falling apart too. The reinforced concrete, the steel bars in the concrete are actually rusting away. So basically, the concrete then falls apart, and they don't let people on it because it's so unsafe. But you can visit the protected part of it. It's very eerie, I think. It's fascinating, but very eerie. See a couple of people there. This is some of this, by the way. Some of these stills, I should shout out a guy called Steve Ronan, who has a YouTube channel where he does a lot of visiting of places like that and films from the air and on the ground. So I did that with Steve Ronan's YouTube site. I'd recommend visiting that. Some fantastic stuff on it that he's filmed personally. I hope he doesn't mind me snapping a couple of stills from one of his videos. But yeah, it's a hell of a place. So yeah, there's a lot of facts about it. I mean, if I just cover a couple of... So coal, in terms of the amount of coal, they reckon over its history, there was nearly 16 million tons of coal mined.
Wow.
Yeah. At its peak in 1941, it was about 410,000 tons a year. Really was an engine for Japanese industrial expansion. It's just an incredible thing. Now, obviously, it was partly because Japan obviously switched to oil from coal, partly because it was mined out by 1974, and they abandoned it within 3 months. Everyone left, leaving behind artifacts like TVs and toys, and there's all sorts of stuff left behind. And you can see it's pretty unsafe now, the interiors, but still fascinating stuff. There's one of the squares that Skyfall tried to kind of replicate that look in Pinewood for those scenes. Nobody can actually you couldn't film a movie on it for real. It's falling apart, but yeah, so just an example of what happens when humans leave their structures. You can see some of the other little islands. I just think it's fascinating. When I first heard about it a few years ago, I went, there's really a place like that? Like, that's just sitting there? Like this? You know, it's endlessly fascinates me, that kind of thing. So they are trying to preserve bits of it so that visitors can visit. And as the Japanese were meant to put up a lot of stuff about the Koreans that were there, and they haven't necessarily done a lot of that. They did at one point admit to the forced labor part, and then within hours retracted it. So the Koreans who first opposed the UNESCO World Heritage Site thing, agreed to it on the basis that they would do that, and then they retracted that. So it's a big bone of contention with both Koreas, North and South. But they've restored a couple of buildings to allow people to visit, and I would love to visit it.
Really? It's interesting.
It just, yeah, the Chinese are going and salvaging. Yeah, I could imagine so. They do a lot of stuff. So, but look at the views. I mean, it's you can just imagine people living in that. And it was like one room with like 4 square meters would be one family's apartment. Enough the floor mats for them to sleep on. And fascinating stuff. There's like a pool on the roof. You can see the slide. I'd like to get to the pictures where they show there's a dummy, it must have been in one of the stores. It's for the steel, yeah. Yeah, this would have been one of the store houses, maybe, the stores that they had, little shops. And they just, basically, in 1974, when they closed it, within 3 months, everyone was gone. And then that was it. They abandoned it. Nothing, no people, no preservation, no nothing. They just left it. This drone footage is incredible. It's incredible stuff. There's one of the little toys, little toy bike left behind. Yeah, they were one of the first to build. This island was one of the first examples of reinforced concrete high-rise buildings being built. I mean, it's not that there weren't high-rise buildings before, but to use the new reinforced concrete technology in 1910 was the Japanese trying to get. Obviously, they needed to do that on this small island, but they trying to keep up with and get ahead of the Western powers, colonial powers, and become one of them themselves. There was about 5,000 people living there in 1959. That was at the peak that it reached. Incredible density. Just fascinating stuff. There's a walking stick or crutch, sorry. And the highest point in the island was a Shinto temple at the highest rock. I don't know how high that would only be maybe 200 feet up or so. But yeah, you could go up and down those stairs to everything. 1905 was the first concrete one, according to this. It's interesting, though. I don't know what you think looking at these, Martine. I think in the movie, the shots that they recreated of the what looked like almost the deck of the battleship.
Yes.
Pretty accurate looking stuff, I think.
Yeah, in fact, in one of the pictures, I could recognize the main area where they received the newcomers and the manager gave his speech. You can see the building and everything.
Yeah,
it was a good recreation.
Yeah, Peter says, I guess they couldn't load much on the boat bank. I guess not, but they wouldn't have much with them in the first place. They couldn't really accumulate a lot of stuff. Here you see a television that was left behind. So if anyone wants a free TV, head to the island. Yeah, I think the recreation of the sets in the movie was spectacularly well done. It's a studio in Korea, but I would love to see, and there probably exists a lot of filming of the making of the movie, because I think it must have been fairly rigorous acting on it. Not that we're saying actors are, well, boo-hoo, poor actors, but I think it looked fairly rigorous to me. Some of the settings. There are still sake bottles strewn everywhere. Yeah, there's a good picture of it showing some of the peninsula in the background. It's a series of those islands. I don't know how they first discovered coal under there. I guess. And I think John is joining us. Hey.
Yes. Hey. Just the last minute, my internet.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes to talk about the island. We've been talking a little while. What can you throw on some of this, being a historian?
Well, before you answer that, I have pictured the whole show like Enrico Palazzo watching. You say you be asking, no, that's not accurate. No, you both are idiots. No.
I wasn't that bad.
I'm only going by what I read on the internet. So
yeah,
I read. Well, I've got a book. I've got books about abandoned places. I read a lot of those, and it's some of them. I've tried not to be too off the. But yeah, go ahead, John.
If I remember right, they tortured and killed 1,400 Chinese and like 800 Korean prisoners there.
Yeah, I think there was 1,000 deaths at least. I mean, it's difficult because the records were destroyed, and the Japanese don't want to admit to a lot of it. There's at least 1,000 deaths. Some of those were through just accidents because of the terrible conditions. Some were starvation or disease. Some were actually killed, tortured or killed.
Especially when the war is coming to an end, they didn't want to get caught with all those prisoners.
They estimate there was about 800 Koreans forcibly taken there, unknown number of Chinese prisoners of war. And as of a few years ago, there were still 3 surviving Koreans, and maybe gone now, that was a few years ago, who were still able to tell their stories of it and how bad it was. And it was pretty bad when you listen to them. I mean, it was forced labor and horrible. I mean, down in those mines, 30 degrees plus centigrade temperatures because of the depth. Very little or safety conditions, very little water or food. Hellish getting up and down, no cleanliness here, just horrible. I mean, it would be hell.
They had to save all their water for drinking.
Yeah, hell on earth. So, April 20th, 1974 was the day it closed. It was 1,000 meters plus below sea level, so it was pretty horrible. But nonetheless, a fascinating place. This is the Skyfall scene, which is all digital and sets in Pinewood, but it still does a good job of looking like it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
As it is today, of course. Yeah.
And in fact, it may be in a little better shape than it is.
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. So, so gotta find us. Where are we? Oh, there we are. Find the right button. Well, Peter Venkman was saying there's some Americans there too. I don't know about that. I mean, it could be true. I just don't have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything that said that there were any American prisoners held there.
I would imagine that the Japanese would be, not that they treated any prisoners of war well, as we all know. Might have been a little bit. Yeah. 420. They might have been a little more about Western prisoners because they didn't want blowback eventually from that with Western powers. I don't know. The thing is, the Koreans, many were forcibly taken. Some were tricked, as we saw in the movie. Some were Korean, like our main gangster guy, Koreans that were offered, well, either you're going to go to jail here because of whatever, or you could get on this boat and be free, but you'll be working. But they didn't tell them exactly what it was all about. So there was a lot of trickery. But I mean, unless you read the tales of the Koreans who went there, we wouldn't know the details of everybody. But so there's two aspects to this. There is the atrocities that occurred during the war on the island, but there's also the history of the island separate from that, which in its own right is fascinating, even without that, and the lives of the people that lived there. So,
fortunately for the people that were there, Department 731 was not involved in Battleship Island at all.
Unit 731,
yeah, Unit 731.
I don't know too much about them, but there was a Japanese army unit that did similar to the Germans in the prisoner of war camps, carried out various experiments, and I've heard they're pretty bad. But.
Yeah, a lot of their atrocities were done in China.
Well, they occupied Manchuria for many years, of course, and other areas. And again, I don't want to turn this into I love Japan, Japanese history, and the Japanese people now, and it's like we can't hold it against the people of today what happened in the past. We just have to remember that it happens. The same with all our nations have done things that at various times it might be seen as no good. This was bad. This was a bad period. There's no doubt about it.
We have 1 minute to wrap up.
So we'll wrap up. I would like to thank everyone for being here and listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Please go watch the movie and read about the history of the island. There are lots of documentaries out there. I would also like to, switching gears, plug myself. That 70s Rock Fan channel. I'm sure you're already all subscribed, but if not, please do go check it out. Watch some of my stuff. We did a great show on Monday about Ray Stevenson that John was there. Fantastic show. Go check that out, and there's lots of stuff on there, more to come. It's really enjoying the channel and how it's developing, so please go check that out. Plug me. John, what are you up to recently?
Racing.
Just pretty much here, your channel, and then Joe's Atmospheres on Wednesdays.
And Martin, you'll be doing more of this. And he's gone.
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
No, that's okay. Thank you guys for helping me out today. Sorry you missed a lot of it, John. Thanks everyone for watching. Peter, thank you, Peter, for your saying it's a great show. I hope you did enjoy it. It was fascinating. I could talk about this stuff for hours. But yeah, check us out next week. I don't know what we're going to be doing, but I have ideas. So till then.
Bill.
Cheerio.